Warning, this video contains subject matter that may be disturbing to some viewers. So let's get the housekeeping out of the way. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. All of the information gathered is from news sources or an internet search, and any opinions expressed by me is just that, my opinion. With that being said, let's jump into it. Thank you for watching True Crime AB. In this episode, I want to talk about a case that's fairly recent. I want to talk about the murder of Brooke Buchler. Now, this is a very twisted story. Now, Brooke was a 25-year-old waitress from Slidell, Louisiana. Slidell has a population of nearly 30,000 people, and it's located in the Tammany Parish area. Brooke was a graduate of Slidell High School, where she was a cheerleader and played basketball. Brooke had a love for literature and astrology, and she was obsessed with Game of Thrones. She even recently dyed her dark hair platinum blonde in order to look more like Game of Thrones' Dragon Queen. Channel 4 WWL New Orleans was recently able to speak to some of Brooke's family and friends, and they were able to put together a pretty good timeline of events that occurred surrounding Brooke's murder. So everything started in July of 2020 when Brooke went with a friend to Florida for a beach trip. And while she was there, she met a man named David Fucciani through the Tinder app. Allegedly, she was more looking for a weed hookup so that she could get some marijuana, but her and David kind of hit it off. After Brooke returned to Slidell from her beach trip, about a week later, David showed up into town. He had family members that lived there, and he and Brooke, I guess, kind of picked up their relationship where they left it off in Florida. Now, it's not clear if David moved in with Brooke into her apartment, but he was spending time there. So we know that he had been in her apartment multiple occasions. And he had only been in town for about 2 weeks when Brooke started telling her friends that she was afraid of him. She even reported to several people that he had forced himself on her. Now, here's where I have to say that I couldn't find any information anywhere that he's been charged with any crime concerning Brooke. So Brooke allegedly reached out to a good friend of hers, somebody that she had known for quite a while. They were good friends in high school, and he is 27-year-old Dylan Craddick. So Brooke reached out to him and was telling him about the issues that she was having with David. So apparently, Dylan decides that he's going to involve himself in this situation and help out Brooke, since she's having these problems with David. On August 20th, 2020, David was found in a ditch outside of Slidell, nearly beaten and stabbed to death. He did survive and was taken to the local hospital, where he told authorities that he had been kidnapped and assaulted by strangers. But then he checked himself out of the hospital and disappeared. Law enforcement was trying to figure out the identity of David's attackers through social media, and they had gotten some replies, and people were telling them to look at Dylan Craddick. Just 2 days later, family members and friends can't find Brooke. She's not answering voicemails. She's not answering text messages. She's not returning back to her apartment. And on August the 22nd, she was reported missing. Tragically, a day later, on August the 23rd, her body would be found in an abandoned naval support base located in nearby Bywater. The area is described as run down, littered, taken over by looters, squatters, and heroin addicts. The police report said that she had a large metal rod entangled in her hair, but her autopsy revealed later that she had died from a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. Brooke was actually in the New Orleans morgue under Jane Doe for 3 days while they were pending fingerprint identification. Now, this is where the story gets even more twisted. Law enforcement reports that on August 21st, Brooke was in a hotel in St. Bernard Parish with her friend Dylan Craddick and another man named Cody Matthews. And this was the last time that she was seen alive. Now, remember, this is the day before she was reported missing and a day after her Tinder date David was found nearly beaten to death. Now, from what I can gather, law enforcement found some evidence at the crime scene, most notably a bloody handprint on a door frame where Brooke's body was found that led them back to Dylan and Cody. During the investigation, apparently law enforcement found enough evidence to link Dylan and Cody to the severe beating and stabbing of Tinder date David. They were both arrested for the attack and charged with kidnapping and attempted murder. While in jail, Cody Matthews uses the phone. Now, we all know that jailhouse phone calls are recorded, but apparently Cody didn't realize this. And he tells whoever he's talking to that he was present when Brooke was killed, and that she was killed by Dylan Craddock. And the motive for the murder? Well, it's because Brooke knew too much about the attack on Tinder date David. So Dylan, being the good friend that he is, decided he was going to help out Brooke with her problem concerning Tinder date David. So he decides he's going to kill Tinder date David. And apparently he thought that he was dead when they left him in that ditch. But then he decides Brooke knows too much. She could be a witness against him. So he decides to kill Brooke to keep her from telling on him about Tinder date David. I mean, this thing makes absolutely no sense. And tragically, a young 25-year-old woman has lost her life. Dylan Craddock and Cody Matthews are in a New Orleans jail now facing second-degree murder charges in the death of Brooke. They also still face charges on the attack on Tinder date David. Now, as far as Tinder date David goes, I haven't seen anything else about him. I don't know whether he's still in Louisiana or went back to Florida, or he could be in Canada by now. But it appears that this case was resolved. Law enforcement seems pretty confident that they have the right men in custody. And hopefully they will not see the light of day for a very, very long time, if ever. And with that, it's time to wrap up this episode. As always, thank you for joining us. And don't forget to hit those like, subscribe, and notification buttons so that you don't miss any future episodes.